everyone. We are back with a shuffle episode with our founder and friend, Austin. Hi, Austin. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Kara?
So, for everyone who doesn't know who you are, will you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Austin. I founded Shuffle beginning of 2023. Currently, I have the CEO designation. I focus mostly on just sales and growth. Yeah.
I wanted to do this episode for all our customers and friends to get to know a little bit more about the behind of the scenes of Shuffle. So, how did the idea of Shuffle came on? Because why dating? Why Shuffle and why speed dating?
Yeah, so there's kind of two parts to this. I guess the first was just kind of my own personal circumstance. Like I had just been let go from a job. I was working as a tech recruiter, and I always kind of knew I wanted to start a business. And I had experience in the event space. I was kind of running these chess events locally around Portland, Oregon at the time. So I was kind of asking myself, like, is there anything in this space that I can do that could like pay rent so I don't have to have a regular job? So that was kind of one part of it. And then I stumbled across speed dating and it kind of just seemed like a good opportunity the more I looked into it. The
Mhm.
other part of the story is just my own experience as before I met my current girlfriend. I had used the dating apps for probably like 4 to 5 years, and a lot of my friends use them. And obviously, I had kind of the same experience as most people, like just a lot of frustrations and so on and so forth. I thought that doing something kind of in the in-person dating space would be worthwhile for the people I know, but also just kind of from what I was seeing, and I thought it was solving a legitimate problem. So yeah, those are kind of the two reasons. And then I kind of stumbled on the concept and launched a few events early January of last year in 2023. And then, yeah, kind of from then on, the ball's been rolling.
Mhm. So, we know that Seattle and Portland were the first cities because you were
Mhm.
running the chess events at the beginning there as well.
Uh,
How did you choose to expand to the other cities? How do we get to Chicago and DC and the other ones?
honestly, I just Google, like, I don't know. I can't really remember how I did it for every city, but I mean, we have a list of cities that we just want to get to regardless, so the order doesn't really matter. But, I would Google and just kind of search for like what are the best cities for singles, like what are the most walkable cities, because that kind of plays into our marketing strategy with the flyers and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to experiment with cities of different size. So we have like some of the bigger ones like Chicago. We also have some smaller ones like Nashville is kind of one of our recent ones that it's not like a super
Mhm.
tiny city, but it's pretty small in comparison to Chicago and some of these other ones. So yeah, it's we're just trying to hit like cities above a certain population threshold. We want to hit cities kind of across the country. I didn't want to do everything on the West Coast in the beginning, so kind of want to spread it out across the time zones. So that's why we have some East Coast cities, and then yeah, just cities that are pretty walkable.
Yeah, that's true. Because parking is hell in some of the cities. I think
Yeah, yeah,
customers
yeah,
would
for
agree
sure.
with that. Another interesting thing to ask is how did you decide to have a remote team? Because like a remote host and everyone lives in a different city or in a different country. How did you decide that for your company?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about doing like a speed dating business, I was kind of looking at what the typical feedback was of other people's experiences. And there's kind of like these commonalities that kept coming up. And one of the issues that a lot of people kind of had with other speed dating services they've tried in the past is like sometimes the events would just cancel last minute because something would happen with the host and they couldn't show up to the event. And then also people kind of mentioned how the host played a pretty big role in the actual speed dating experience.
Hmm.
Kind of the host personality and all of that plays a huge role. And so I kind of thought like, is there a way to just remove the host as a variable, and that would make running events, I thought, like smoother, and it would be kind of interesting just not having a host and their presence there if the event was just the participants. To me, that just kind of felt like a little more organic,
Hmm.
instead of kind of going to these venues and having someone there who like gives you name tags and stuff. It just kind of sounded and felt very antiquated for
Hmm.
kind of the modern like 2023, 2024. So I just tried it. Yeah, I just tried running a couple events at Starbucks initially without a host. I was just texting people and it worked. So I was like, oh, okay. Like I guess this works. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then obviously we had to expand our team once we started running more events. And then Andy has obviously been a huge part of that. Just kind of onboarding new hires. So yeah, I guess does that answer your question, or do you want me to kind of elaborate more on that?
No, that answered a little bit of why don't we have hosts on site. I think that's like a
Hmm.
very differentiate thing about Shuffle compared to other speeding events. So then you are growing Shuffle since 2023, and we are in like about 10 cities now, I think.
10,
Um,
11. Yeah, we just
10,
added
11.
Boston technically. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
true. Give it a take. And summer is coming. Do you feel that summer will be like the best time to date, or it will be like the best time to try shuffle?
Uh, I don't really know honestly because we've only had like one full year to kind of
Hmm.
look back upon. So I can't really say anything for certainty. Like I will say, I mean, right now, I mean, events are booking out pretty quickly across all
Hmm.
cities. Yeah, I think during summer, I mean, people are really busy with, they have like plans and vacations and stuff, but at the same time, I don't know, like at least when I was single, something about summer and just the warmer weather kind of made me want to go out more and like mingle with people. So I do think like that's kind of an aspect of it too.
Hmm.
Whereas in winter, like especially in certain cities where the weather's just terrible, it's like you just don't really want to go outside and have to deal with the weather and all that kind of stuff. So if not a
Hmm.
little bit better. I mean, if you're single or you want to be in a relationship, then I mean, any month's a good month to try to like find dates, I guess.
Of course, but it's always like different because there is this idea of like people getting into relationships more during the festivities or like during certain times of the
Hmm.
years. That's why I was asking about summer.
Right.
So my other question is, we have events for straight people, but we also have events for
Uh-huh.
queer people. We try to be very inclusive in that sense, but I wanted to ask you if this was always the philosophy of the company. How did you came about having events that include everyone?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to be as inclusive as possible, which is why we do offer like some of the queer events. I think like the frequency of queer events we run, it kind of depends on the city. Like Seattle and Portland, I mean Seattle in particular, but like those cities, there's just a large demographic of queer folks, so we naturally just run more queer events in those cities, whereas some other cities there might not be as many. But I mean, I think for Shuffle in the future, we definitely want to expand beyond what we just have right now, which is really like our events. Um, and then we also have like queer men, queer women events. We could do more, but like our marketing strategy right now is kind of just like this general try to like try to acquire like singles or find singles in general across the city. We're not really doing these like really targeted marketing campaigns trying to find like queer people specifically. So it would be difficult for us right now to like really try and expand um, and run all sorts of events, but I think it definitely within a few years, like we definitely want to kind of lean more in that direction. I guess like to answer your question, I mean, we just want to be as inclusive as possible. And especially, when people are emailing us and they're like, hey, can you run, like this event next month, or are you thinking about running these events? That definitely kind of puts more emphasis on that and might, I guess, accelerate us running those events. So, yeah, if anyone's listening and like we don't run events that kind of fit you and your needs, definitely like reach out to us, let us know, and we know everything down. So that's what I'd recommend right now.
That's where my next question was going for. How can people make sure that we have them in mind? Like, should they sign up for the wait list? Should they reach out to us? How does it work? Because I know there is a lot of folks 40, 50 plus that they were
Yeah.
saying, why don't you run events more often? And it's just because we don't have enough people in our database. So can you explain a little bit how it works, our marketing, and how they can help us to run these events?
Yeah. So, our newsletter is I mean, that's really big for us. So I definitely would recommend for people to sign up to our newsletter, our email list. And if we're not running events, like I said earlier, that you want to see, definitely just email us. That'd be the best way, and just let us know. Yeah, it's difficult because like in order to run a successful event, you have to fill both sides, like men and women. If you're running, an event for straight people, or but oftentimes like we'll have a lot of women, for an example, for a particular age range, but not enough men. And so that's kind of the challenge.
Tell your single
Yeah,
friends
so
to sign up for our newsletter.
yeah, tell your single friends. Also, if you're part of like any communities or Facebook groups or anything like that, I mean, spread
Mhm.
the word, and that'll help. But that's something that we also want to kind of tackle within the next
Mhm.
few years for sure. Kind of figure out how to better balance the number of men and women for specific age ranges. And that's something that we do that like a lot of speed dating companies, they don't really, they'll run events and you hear people complaining about how there's such a huge imbalance between the men and women. Like there's just way too many guys or way too many women. And but for us, like we really try to balance our events. So if we can't balance it and if it's just too big of a disparity, we're not even going to run it because it's a waste of time for everybody. But the best thing you can do right now is just sign up to our newsletter and just let us know and try to spread the word through your friends and your social circles and whatever communities and groups you're part of online.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. People who sign up to our newsletter will know that we contact the wait list directly, very specific to if they put like the preference to the events. So a little bit more for people to know you and to know the person behind Shuffle. What are your hobbies? What are the things you do outside work? I
Uh-huh.
know there are not that much, but I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, so I'm a homebody for sure. I stay inside a lot. But no, I mean I exercise and I like to go on runs and I go to the gym and stuff. I love coffee shops. I like to play piano sometimes. I like to make music and compose. Actually, there's a singer who I used to work with several years ago. He was like busy with school for the last few years, but he like literally just reached out this morning and he wants to like work on another song, so that got me really excited. So yeah, I like kind of doing that. I've been reading a lot more this year. My girlfriend kind of got me into back into reading, and I'll watch some shows here and there. That's pretty much it. Pretty boring.
I mean, you run a company, so I don't think there is that many hours in a day, to be honest. Um, Anything else that you would like to tell our listeners or people who listen to the Shuffle podcast?
Yeah. I would say, I mean, if you haven't tried an event yet, I definitely would say like, I mean, if you're single, obviously, um, definitely give it a shot. I mean, we get really good feedback most of the time, and at the very least, like even if you don't get a match, you still get to meet people in person, and it is a fun time. Now we're gonna have our friending button soon, but there's just like more opportunity to connect with people. So, and if you're kind of unsure, definitely just sign up to our newsletter just to kind of stick around, and so that way you can get updated when we do have new events, and you don't have to constantly go on our website and try to see like when our new events posted. And then if you know any single people or have any single friends, definitely spread the word. That's been huge for us in all of our cities. It's just the word of mouth. Um, yeah, and I guess like if you have participated in our events, and if you have any ideas on how to make them better, definitely just tell us. Like we love when people just email us and or message us, text us, and give us ideas or like venue recommendations or really anything on that front. So yeah, we're like very open to any and all feedback and notes. So definitely reach out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think that will be all for now because I still want the other episode soon. So
Okay.
thank you so much for coming to the podcast and thank you so much for creating Shuffle. So we're creating a really nice community with everyone and connecting people together.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Carol.